now that we know that this is a linear equation, that is the graph of all the points collected together who satisfy this equation will be a straight line. Let's look at the key features of such a linear equation and its graphs. Okay, so even though one point is enough to give, sorry, 2 points are enough to give us the equation of the entire line, all right, to give us equation as well as the sketch of an entire line. Okay, let's do this. Let's still look at a bunch of points here and plot them. So how do I do that? I just go ahead and plug in all the values here. So when okay, just a second, I made a typo. So this should be -1. So we know this, that 0, -1 is a point on this line. Okay, now after that we'll put x equals 1, say, all right, and then we have this, that is 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 minus 1 is how much? 1. This gives us what? 1, 1 as another point on the coordinates of another point on the line. Okay, now we are going to go for what? We will go ahead and put 2 in there. Okay, and when we substitute a 2, what do we get? We get y equals 3 in here, because 4 minus 1 is 3, and that gives us 2, 3 as the coordinates of another point on this line. Okay, and we just looked at only the positive values. Let's take a negative value for our input as input for x. Okay, so when we do that, okay, you know this, that 2 times -1 will be -2, and that added to -1 will give us -3, and here we are, we got -1, -3. Okay, all right, so now we will take these points to the coordinate axes and then see how does the graph look like, and what the key features of this equation are. Now here are the coordinate axes that you're familiar with, and what we are going to do is that we are going to go ahead and plot the lines that we had, plot the points that we had, and use that to do what? Use those to sketch our line. Okay, so I am going to virtually plot those. Who is my first point? That's 0, -1. Okay, it shows up right here, as you can see. Then we got 1, 1. Okay, shows up right here. Then we got 2, 3. All right, it shows up here. Then we got -1, -3. All right, we don't have good enough window to see that, but I'll pull it up for you. All right, I promise. Okay, now as I said, well, when we are using our ruler, we can just connect any 2 points and get the entire line, and here we go. So this is the line that we were going to graph, that we wanted to graph, and this is graph of this equation. Okay, now let's go ahead and understand the meaning of this coefficient and this term here. Okay, all right. Now we have graph of y equals 2x minus 1, and we will quickly go ahead and label all the points. Remember, this was the very first one that we had plotted, right? And then we have what? Then we got 1, 1, and then we have 2, 3 here, right? Oops, sorry. Okay, we have 2, 3. Okay, and this is the point that we couldn't see earlier. Now we can. Okay, that is -1, -3. So one of the ingredients that you have here that's very important to look at, that's this oops, sorry, okay, just one moment. Okay, that is important to consider, and that is what, this term here, -1, and I keep covering it up. Let me just see if I can make it better. Yeah, I hope it works this time. Thank you. Okay, so this term -1 relates to this value here, which is -1, and this is the y coordinate of the point with which the line meets the y-axis at. So what do you call it? You call it the y-intercept. Okay, so this is the y-intercept of the line, or again, in other words, this portion is connected with the y-intercept. Okay, now let's look at the meaning of this coefficient here. Okay, so what you shall see is, say here is a point on the line, all right, and say instead of using this line as a ramp, I was going by steps. What will happen if I go 1 unit to the right? What will happen? My rise is becoming what? 2 units up, right? So for every run of 1 unit, okay, I have a rise of what? 2 units, and that will go on happening all along, like here. See, I go 1 units to this side, right? And then what happens? I have a rise of again how much? From here to here, 2 units. Same thing over here, okay? I go to this side by 1 unit and I have a rise of how much? How many? 2 units, right? So this part here has to do with, or rather gives us what? The slope of this line, that is rise over run. For 1 unit of run, I'll have 2 units of rise. Okay, so in general, for the graph of y equals mx plus b, m represents the slope and b gives us the y-intercept.